John Cramer, let's go on.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is John Cramer, and I have signed a speaker card. I'm a licensed professional engineer as well as a resident of Red Hawk Reserve. Now, there have been some minor changes, but the rezone petition 1417 is substantially similar to the previous petition 1202. During the public hearing for rezone petition 1202, I addressed the Planning Commission and expressed some concerns with the petition. Now, I'm not the only engineer that had concerns with this petition. You received a letter from another professional engineer. Now, by way of introduction, this engineer writes, quote, "Most of you know my background and involvement with the development community. I'm very pro-development as it is my profession and business. I've brought dozens of development projects before you. Some went well and some not," unquote. Later on, this engineer writes, "As you can see from this plan, the cluster subdivision proposes small lots up against existing large acre home sites. I have had numerous projects that have been denied by your board for not matching the lot width, even with large landscape buffers. As I understand this plan, there are some areas of only 20 foot proposed. It is both my personal as well as my professional opinion that this project is not compatible with the adjacent existing development, and based on this, I would ask that this rezone request be denied." Do you recall who wrote this letter? It was John Cavoli. Now imagine my surprise when I see that Mr. Cavoli is now a member of the team requesting the approval of rezone petition 1417. I haven't found any statement in the rezone application materials from Mr. Cavoli to explain why he's changed his mind, so I'm left to wonder. The condition Mr. Cavoli describes as incompatible in his letter, small lots butting up against large acre home sites with only 20-foot landscape buffers, is still present in the plan that he's proposed. In addition, the plan he's proposing now is actually more dense than the previous petition that he requested be denied. So why has he changed his mind? Now, I reread Mr. Cavoli's letter and noticed a passage that mentions Alan Garrett, the planning consultant for the previous rezone petition. Mr. Cavoli writes, quote, "I am disappointed with Mr. Garrett's defense of this plan from a compatibility standpoint, but I know the business well as the game that is played, and you have to support your client even if your training differs," unquote. So now I don't know what to think. If Mr. Cavoli has truly changed his professional opinion to support this project, I believe the public is owed an explanation. And remember, this is a professional opinion that he stated, so his justification for changing his opinion needs to be based on facts and evidence. Further on, in the second half of his letter, Mr. Cavoli writes, quote, "I would like to request that if you do not support the denial of this rezone, that you consider a stipulation that no access other than stabilized emergency access be allowed to Proctor Road," unquote. And furthermore, he writes, quote, "I'm well aware of the land development regulations and that the necessary improvements to Proctor would not be required for this development, and therefore would ask that this stipulation be placed on the development if you choose to approve the rezone," unquote. However, when I look at the plan that Mr. Cavoli is now proposing, I see that he's included 2 full gated accesses to Proctor Road. And again, I don't see any explanation for the change of his mind. The only improvements that I see added to Proctor Road were bus stops. So I guess I'm wondering if those are the necessary improvements that Mr. Cavoli is referring to in his letter. Is it just the addition of bus stops that had him change his opinion that instead of emergency accesses, we can have full accesses here now? Again, I believe the public deserves an explanation. Thank you.
Thank you.